Chosen one, listen carefully. What I'm about to share is not for everyone. This message is urgent, sacred, and intentional. If you do not walk the divine path of God, if you are not seeking truth, obedience, and spiritual alignment, then this is not for you. Scroll away. But if you are a true follower of God, if your spirit has been restless, searching, questioning, and yearning for clarity, then understand this clearly. This message reached you at the exact moment heaven intended. Nothing is accidental here. God's chosen ones are being gathered, awakened, and reminded. And today you are being reminded of something powerful. You have absolutely no clue who you truly are in the spirit world. You don't remember who you returned as. You don't see the full picture, but they do. The spiritual realm knows you. Your presence is recognized. Your spirit carries history, and that truth, when it settles into your heart, will change how you see your life, your struggles, and your purpose forever. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear is not meant to scare you. It's meant to heal you, steady you, and finally bring peace to questions you've carried silently for years. Before we continue, chosen ones, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need this confirmation. And comment 777 below to declare that you are aligned, protected, and ready to receive what God is revealing now, the veil over your true spiritual identity. Chosen one, I want you to relax your shoulders for a moment and breathe. You are not confused because something is wrong with you. You are confused because something powerful has been intentionally hidden from you. And that distinction matters more than you realize. There is a veil over your true spiritual identity, not a punishment, not a mistake, a veil allowed by God Himself. And until you understand why that veil exists, you will keep questioning yourself in ways that quietly drain your peace. Let me speak plainly. If you remembered everything about who you truly are in the spirit world, this human life would become unbearable. You would not be able to function properly. You would struggle to relate to people. You would either withdraw completely or try to control what was never meant for you to control. So God, in His wisdom, covers the fullness of your identity until your mind, heart, and character are mature enough to carry it. This is where many chosen ones misunderstand themselves. They think forgetting means losing, but forgetting is not losing. Forgetting is protection. Your spirit did not come here empty. Your spirit came here full of experience, full of authority, full of understanding. But your mind had to be shielded because the mind is fragile. The ego is fragile, and the world you entered is not gentle with truth. This veil is why you've always felt like something about you was missing, but not in a broken way. It feels more like something is paused, like a memory just out of reach. You sense depth within yourself that you cannot fully explain. You know there's more to you than what people see, and sometimes that knowing frustrates you. That frustration is normal. It does not mean you are behind. It means your spirit is ahead of your awareness. Let me say something that may calm your heart. God does not reveal identity before He establishes stability. And stability is not about success, money, or recognition. Stability is emotional. Stability is humility. Stability is obedience when no one is watching. Stability is learning to live with questions without becoming bitter. Many chosen ones suffer because they try to remember before they are ready to carry the weight of remembrance. They want clarity without preparation. But clarity without grounding leads to pride, fear, or spiritual burnout. That is why your life has unfolded slowly in certain areas. That is why doors close without explanation. That is why relationships fell apart without closure. God was keeping you human enough to stay teachable. The veil also exists because this world is hostile to spiritual truth. People would either misuse what you carry or attempt to destroy it. So God hides His greatest assets in plain sight. Ordinary backgrounds, ordinary struggles, ordinary lives, but extraordinary spirits. This is why your life may not look impressive on the outside, yet feels intense on the inside. You feel everything deeply. You notice what others ignore. You carry emotional weight that isn't always yours, and you often wonder why life feels heavier for you than for others. It's because you are not here to float through life. You are here to anchor something. Another reason for the veil is mercy. Yes, mercy. If you fully remembered who you were, you would also remember who you were not allowed to save. You would remember losses that would crush your heart. You would remember responsibilities that would overwhelm your nervous system. So God gives you amnesia with grace. He lets your spirit remember in fragments, in feelings, in intuition, in quiet knowing, not in full images or titles. Because this life is about faith and not memory. This is why chosen ones often feel disconnected from labels. You don't fit neatly into boxes. You don't fully resonate with the systems of the world. You respect order, but you don't worship structure. You value truth more than comfort. And that makes life confusing sometimes. You ask yourself questions like, why do I feel older than my age? Why do I crave meaning more than attention? Why does shallow conversation exhaust me? Why do I feel responsible even when I didn't ask to be? Those questions come from the veil rubbing against your awareness. But hear me carefully now. The veil does not mean you are blocked. It means you are guided. Your spirit knows exactly what it is doing, even when your mind doubts. That is why you survive things that should have broken you. That is why you recover faster than you expect. That is why you sense danger before it arrives. That is why you feel pulled away from certain people without logical reasons. Your spirit is not asleep. It is disciplined. The problem comes when chosen ones interpret the veil as rejection. They think, if I were truly chosen, wouldn't God tell me everything? No. If you were not chosen, you would be told nothing at all. Silence is not absence. Silence is training. Even Jesus lived under limitation while on earth. He did not operate in full glory at all times. He submitted to process. He submitted to time. And he trusted the Father completely. So when you feel like you're walking in partial understanding, remember this. God is not withholding from you. He is protecting what is sacred within you. The veil will lift gradually, not all at once. And when it does, it will not feel dramatic or overwhelming. It will feel familiar, like remembering something you always knew but didn't have words for. Until then, your job is not to force revelation. Your job is to stay grounded, to stay humble, to stay faithful, to stay kind in a world that rewards cruelty. Because the ones who are truly chosen are not identified by what they remember. They are identified by how they live while they don't. And you, chosen one, are doing better than you think. And there is something else you must understand. Chosen one. The veil is not only spiritual, it is emotional, it is psychological. It is woven into your experiences, your upbringing, your disappointments, and even your unanswered prayers. God did not just hide your identity from the world, He hid it from your own ego. Because ego is impatient. Ego wants titles before character. Ego wants power before wisdom. Ego wants answers before obedience. And God does not entrust eternal things to unstable hands. That is why your journey has been humbling. That is why you've had moments where you felt small, overlooked, or underestimated. Not to shame you, but to soften you, to teach you how to listen, to teach you restraint, to teach you compassion for people who don't understand you. Many chosen ones struggle with this phase because it feels unfair. You know you carry more, you feel it, yet life keeps placing you in positions that seem beneath your capacity. That is not demotion, that is refinement. Gold is not refined in comfort, it is refined in fire. And fire does not announce itself as preparation. It feels like loss. It feels like delay. It feels like confusion. But the veil also serves another sacred purpose. It allows you to live by faith, not by certainty. Faith builds trust. Trust builds alignment. And alignment is what activates divine timing. If God revealed everything too early, you would rely on memory instead of relationship. You would lean on what you were instead of who He is. And chosen ones are not sent to glorify themselves. They are sent to reflect God. So when your mind questions and your heart aches, do not panic. Do not rush. Do not compare your journey to anyone else's. Comparison is the quickest way to dishonor your assignment. Instead, anchor yourself in this truth. What is hidden is not lost. What is delayed is not denied. What is veiled is not forgotten. God knows exactly who you are. Heaven knows exactly who you are. And when the time is right, you will know too. Until then, peace is your protection, and patience is your power. Who you were before you came here. Now listen closely. Chosen one. This is where many people become either anxious or overly imaginative. So I want to ground you firmly in truth. We are not here to fantasize. We are here to understand, to heal, and to steady your spirit. Before you came into this world, you were not random. You were not an afterthought. You were not sent because God ran out of options. You were sent because you were trusted. That alone should shift something inside you. Who you were before you came here is not about a name, a rank, or a dramatic title. The spiritual realm does not function like human hierarchies. It functions on responsibility, obedience, and alignment. So when I speak of who you were, I'm not talking about status. I'm talking about function. Your spirit was familiar with order, with purpose, with listening, with carrying weight without complaining. That is why even now you struggle when things feel chaotic or meaningless. Disorder unsettles you deeply, not because you are controlling, but because your spirit remembers harmony. Many chosen ones misunderstand this inner discomfort. They think they are too sensitive, too serious, too intense. But the truth is simpler. You have lived with purpose before, and purposeless living feels foreign to you. Before you came here, your spirit was not distracted by trivial things. That is why you've never been fully satisfied with shallow success, empty pleasure, or surface-level relationships. You can enjoy life, yes, but you cannot live without meaning. This is also why you've always felt a strange sense of responsibility, even as a child. You noticed things early. You worried early. You carried emotional weight that was never assigned to you. And people often leaned on you, even when you were young. That didn't come from trauma alone. Trauma may have amplified it, but it did not create it. Your spirit came into this world already familiar with stewardship. Another truth you need to hear is this. You did not come here to be admired. You came here to be effective. And effectiveness in God's kingdom rarely looks glamorous. This is why many chosen ones are placed in ordinary environments. Modest beginnings, limited resources. Families that could not fully see them. God does this deliberately because admiration feeds ego, but obscurity builds depth. If you had been celebrated early, you might have confused attention with purpose. And God was not willing to risk that. So instead, he allowed you to feel unseen, misunderstood, sometimes even dismissed. Not to break you, but to teach you how to stand without applause. That lesson matters more than you know. Before you came here, your spirit understood submission. And submission is not weakness, it is alignment. It is knowing when to move and when to wait, when to speak and when to stay silent. That is why your life has included long seasons of waiting for clarity, waiting for recognition, waiting for relief. Those seasons were not wasted. They were familiar territory for your spirit. This is also why you have such a strong reaction to injustice. You may not always express it outwardly, but inside, injustice unsettles you deeply. You cannot simply get over things that violate truth. Your conscience is loud because it has been trained. And let me tell you something gently. Not everyone has that. Many people can compromise easily. They can adjust their values to fit convenience. They can ignore wrong if it benefits them. But you struggle with that. Even when compromise would make your life easier. That is not stubbornness. That is spiritual memory surfacing. Before you came here, your spirit was not driven by self-interest. And that is why self-centered environments drain you now. You can navigate them, but they exhaust you. You also carry an unusual sensitivity to God's presence. You may not always articulate it in religious language, but you sense when something is off. You sense when something is aligned, and you sense when silence is required. This sensitivity is not something you learned. It is something you brought with you. And yet God did not allow you to remember all of this clearly. Because remembering without maturity would turn sensitivity into arrogance. It would turn responsibility into burden, and it would turn obedience into entitlement. So instead, he let your spirit lead quietly while your mind learned slowly. This is why your growth has felt internal more than external. You've changed in ways people cannot always see. Your patience has deepened. Your discernment has sharpened. Your tolerance for nonsense has decreased. And your desire for peace has increased. Those are not signs of aging. Those are signs of alignment. Before you came here, your spirit was not impulsive. And now when you act impulsively, you feel immediate discomfort. That discomfort is not condemnation, it is correction. Your spirit knows when you are out of alignment. This is also why you are deeply affected by spiritual teaching that is manipulative or fear-based. Something in you resists it. You don't respond well to control masked as holiness. You crave truth that liberates, not truth that intimidates. That discernment did not develop overnight. Let me be clear about something important. Being chosen does not mean being superior. It means being accountable. And accountability is heavy. That is why God does not awaken everyone in the same way. You are trusted with restraint, with patience, with depth, with the ability to walk without full explanation. And that trust is still active. So when you look at your life and wonder why it feels more demanding than others, why you feel called to higher standards even when no one is watching, understand this. You are responding to something ancient within you. Not ancient in time, but ancient in wisdom. You were not sent here to escape humanity. You were sent here to live it with integrity, to anchor truth quietly, to carry light without announcing it. And even though you do not remember who you were in detail, your life is already reflecting it. Which means this: you are not trying to become who you were. You are remembering how to live like it. And that chosen one is exactly where you are supposed to be right now. There is also a reason you have always been drawn to solitude, even if you enjoy people. Solitude does not scare you. In fact, too much noise unsettles you. Your spirit restores itself in stillness because it remembers communion without distraction. You were not formed to be constantly stimulated. You were formed to be centered. That is why silence speaks to you. That is why prayer, reflection, and quiet moments feel natural, even when life becomes loud. Your spirit recognizes that stillness is not emptiness. It is alignment. Before you came here, you were not rushed. And now, whenever life forces you into frantic living, your nervous system resists. You feel overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected. That reaction is not weakness. It is your spirit signaling that you are drifting from your natural rhythm. You are also familiar with boundaries. And in this life, you are learning to reestablish them. Not walls, but sacred limits. Limits that protect your peace, your energy, and your calling. This is why you are learning to say no without guilt. Why you are stepping back from people who drain you. Why you no longer chase approval the way you once did. These shifts are not personality changes. They are reminders. And as these reminders surface, understand this: you are not becoming distant. You are becoming precise. You are not withdrawing from the world. You are positioning yourself within it. And God is watching every step, not with judgment, but with deep approval. Why you return this time and not before? Chosen one, this question has lived quietly in your heart for a long time, even if you've never spoken it out loud. Why now? Why this generation? Why this world in its current state? Why not earlier, when things seemed simpler, cleaner, less chaotic? The answer is not random, and it is not cruel. You return now because this era requires discernment more than brilliance, endurance more than enthusiasm, and depth more than display. Other times in history needed builders, warriors, or messengers who could stand in open opposition. This time needs anchors, and anchors do not move loudly. They hold. You were not sent into a peaceful world because peace does not reveal character. Pressure does. Confusion does. Moral fog does, and this world is full of it. Truth is diluted, meaning is blurred, faith is marketed. Identity is fragmented, and many people are exhausted without knowing why. That is not accidental. And neither is your presence here. You return now because you have the capacity to live with tension without becoming bitter, to see hypocrisy without becoming cynical, to witness darkness without losing compassion. Those are not common abilities. They are cultivated over long spiritual preparation. This generation does not lack information. It lacks wisdom. It does not lack opinions. It lacks discernment. And God does not send chosen ones to compete with noise. He sends them to bring clarity. That is why your life has often felt misaligned with the pace of the world. You move slower internally, even when life pushes you to rush. You think deeper when others skim. You feel heavier because you notice more. This world rewards speed and surface. You were designed for accuracy and substance, and accuracy takes time. You were also sent now because the systems of this world are fragile. Many of the structures people trust are unstable. Institutions, relationships, values, everything is shifting. In times like this, God does not send those who need certainty. He sends those who can function in faith. You are learning to trust God without clear timelines, to obey without full explanations, to remain steady while others panic. That is not an accident. That is preparation for influence that does not rely on control. Let me say this clearly. Influence in this era does not come from position. It comes from presence, from how you show up, from how you respond under pressure, from how you treat people when you could easily withdraw. And that kind of influence cannot be rushed. You return now because you can carry contradiction. You can hold truth and compassion at the same time. You can disagree without dehumanizing. You can set boundaries without becoming cold. And in a world that swings between extremes, that balance is rare. This is also why many chosen ones were born into environments that were unstable, emotionally inconsistent, or spiritually confusing. Not because God enjoys suffering, but because clarity is forged in contrast. You learned early what did not work, what did not heal, what did not align. And those lessons shaped your discernment. You were not sent to inherit comfort. You were sent to develop resilience. Another reason you return now is because this era is saturated with distraction, constant noise, constant comparison, constant stimulation. Many people cannot hear God anymore. Not because he stopped speaking, but because they stopped listening. You, however, still hear him. Not always audibly, not always clearly. But you sense his direction. You feel his correction. You notice his pauses. And when you drift too far, something inside you pulls you back. That sensitivity is essential now. You were sent now because your spirit knows how to sit in silence, how to reflect, how to wait, how to move when prompted, not when pressured. And that posture is becoming increasingly rare. This is also why your life may feel delayed compared to others. You see people rushing ahead, achieving milestones, building lives that look impressive on the surface. And sometimes you wonder if you missed something. You didn't. God slows down those he intends to use deeply. Because depth cannot be faked, and depth is what sustains others when things fall apart. You return now because you are not dependent on applause. You may appreciate affirmation, but you do not require it to function. You can keep going when no one notices. You can remain faithful when results are slow. That kind of perseverance is essential in a time when many give up easily. Let me address something important here. Some chosen ones struggle with a quiet sense of grief they cannot explain, a feeling of loss without a clear cause, a nostalgia for something they cannot name. That grief does not mean you want to escape this life. It means your spirit remembers alignment. And alignment is rare here. But instead of resenting this world, you were sent to stabilize it in your own small sphere. Through integrity, through consistency, through presence. You were not sent to fix everything. You were sent to be faithful where you are placed. Another reason you return now is because this generation is learning painfully that self-reliance has limits. People are burning out. Relationships are collapsing. Identities are unraveling. And many are searching for something solid. You are solid. Not perfect, but rooted. And rooted people become reference points in unstable times. You may not feel strong all the time. You may feel tired, disillusioned, overwhelmed. That does not disqualify you. It humanizes you, and humanity is essential to your assignment. God did not send you here as an untouchable spiritual figure. He sent you here as a bridge between truth and grace, between faith and reality, between conviction and compassion. That is why you've had to wrestle with doubts, why you've questioned God, why you've felt frustration with religious systems that lack love. Those struggles refined your faith. They made it personal, honest, lived in. And that kind of faith speaks louder than perfection ever could. You return now because you can hold responsibility without needing control. You can influence without dominating. You can lead without insisting on authority. And in a world addicted to power, that humility is revolutionary. Let me reassure you of something. You did not arrive late. You did not miss your moment. You are not behind schedule. Divine timing does not follow human calendars. Every delay in your life has been a layer of protection. Every setback has been a redirection. Every season of confusion has been an invitation to trust deeper. And here you are, still standing, still searching, still open. That alone tells me you were sent at the right time. Because this world does not need more noise. It needs people who can stay steady when the noise gets loud. And that chosen one is exactly what you are learning to do. Right now, in this moment, in this generation, they know who you are. Even if you don't. Chosen one, this part of the message requires calm understanding, not fear. So settle your spirit and listen carefully. When I say they know who you are, I am not inviting paranoia, and I am not feeding fantasy. I am speaking about spiritual recognition, which operates quietly, instinctively, and often without words. You may not fully remember who you are in the spirit world, but recognition does not depend on your memory. It depends on your presence. Light does not need to announce itself. It is detected. This is why certain people react to you without explanation. Some feel drawn to you instantly. Others feel threatened, irritated, or uncomfortable, even when you've done nothing wrong. That reaction is not about your personality. It is about what your spirit carries. People sense depth before they understand it, and depth unsettles those who live on the surface. You've probably noticed this pattern throughout your life. You enter a room quietly, yet something shifts. Conversations change. Energy tightens or softens. Eyes linger. Tension appears without cause. And you find yourself wondering, what did I do? Often the answer is simple. You existed. Your spirit carries authority, even when your voice is gentle. And authority does not require dominance to be felt. It requires alignment. This is why manipulation rarely works on you for long. You may tolerate it briefly out of compassion, but something in you eventually resists. You sense when truth is being twisted. You feel when intentions are impure, and you cannot unsee it once you notice it. Those who rely on control feel exposed around people like you. Now let me clarify who they are. They are not a single group. They are not always conscious of what they sense. Sometimes they are insecure people. Sometimes they are wounded people. Sometimes they are spiritually aware but misaligned. Sometimes they are simply people who have lost their way.